show. Look into Elizabeth Holmes, who has absolutely nothing to do with the NCAA because she is a dropout. Fun fact, dropped out of Stanford. I've been watching this show called The Dropout recently, and this topic has sort of been inspired by that. It's a show called The Dropout. It's on Hulu. Amanda Seyfried kills her role as Elizabeth Holmes. She's fantastic. She should get. I think she's going to get the Emmy nom next year. I hope she does. She's phenomenal in this show. She's so good. And it's like it was also, to be fair, as one of those roles that was just like built for nominations. But she just did really well. You should definitely watch the show. It does like a super good job of like showing the story in like a unique way, because everyone's heard the Theranos story at this point, right? You saw it on HBO. There's probably a few people who haven't, and so it's new. But this is kind of like a dramatized sense of like, oh, like this is the show, or this is Theranos, and like this is the vibe and all of these things. So it's definitely a really good way of showing the story in a new light, which is cool. Definitely watch the show for sure. Also, another funny story. I just found this out. So Theranos and Elizabeth Holmes is like a local story because it's about Silicon Valley fraud. And it's about this woman who basically comes up with this idea to test for like 100 different diseases with one drop of blood. This is her idea. And obviously the technology isn't there yet. So it's, turns into like a fraud / scam story, America, scam. What? I never thought we were into scam. Anyway, funny story. Since this is such a local story, it's from the Silicon Valley. It takes place like 15 minutes away from my house, Palo Alto. My brother's ex-dermatologist was called in to be a part of the trial. His name is Sunil Dhawan. So Sunil Dhawan, if you're watching this, bro, and if any of you had Dr. Dhawan as your dermatologist, just know he was on the Theranos board and may or may not have been in jail. So if you want to talk about shout out to the dermatologist that my brother had. He was in this trial. I did some research and I was like, wow, he got called in. That's kind of cool. But if you want a local Bay Area story, this is 100% a Bay Area story right here. It's cool. For those of you, though, that aren't really understanding who Elizabeth Holmes is or what our girl's doing, why are we talking about Elizabeth like this? It's quite simple, okay? Logline for Elizabeth Holmes. She's basically this girl that's really smart and went to Stanford, and her only goal in life was to be Steve Jobs, and she did everything in her power to make sure that happened. And eventually, she was like, yo, I don't need college. Fuck y'all. Peace. She's not the example I cite when I say I don't want to go to college. Not Elizabeth Holmes, no. But, I mean, for a while I might have, actually, back in 2017 and whatnot. But it basically talks about her journey to forming this company and all the various things that she was willing to do to get to that point. And a lot of things lead to another. One thing leads to another. She ends up in court, goes on trial, all these stuff. But the thing is, she was actually like the top of the business world for a while. Everyone considered her to be like one of the first billionaire self-made women. So it's a cool story to see like how Theranos developed and all of these things. And I think the craziest part to me is, I'm just going to continue to harp on this, is how much America is obsessed with scammers. Okay, I've been talking about this idea that America loves people who cheat the system. But the thing is, arguably, people who cheat the system spend as much time cheating the system as they would like in a normal job. So it's like, bruh, why? If you look at the scammer like that, it's just like, it's funny to me that like a lot of these people are the same people that are like, I never fall for it, dude. I never fall for the scam. I don't know what you're talking about. But at the same time, there are also people who are like super high up, like business executives that fell for this Theranos thing, which was in all of its entirety a scam. I mean, dude, We Crashed is another like scam like story. Bad Vegan involves like a corporation or a restaurant. Fire Festival. America loves cheating the system. I'm telling you, it's like their new favorite hobby. The reason I wanted to talk about Elizabeth Holmes is that I thought she was a really cool story because it's local to me, Silicon Valley, and I feel like Silicon Valley is this huge mystery to the entire world as to like, what goes on there. It's this paradise of like what is happening? Like, it's just so, everything is so new, and there's new buildings and headquarters and startup life and all these things. And people are like, yo, there's always something happening. But honestly, Silicon Valley is not as cool as these documentaries make it out to be. A lot of people just look like like Indian uncles, and they just go to work, code, come back, and eat dal chawal for dinner. That's pretty much what Silicon Valley is. It's not like this exciting world that you see. But it's not what these documentaries make it out to be. Or now they're just working remotely, so they just eat dal chawal from home. They don't have to take it to the office. But a lot of this shit, it really is just, I mean, what it comes down to is it's a lot of overworked, smelly engineers who want to be the next big thing. A lot of them quit. But a few of them succeed, and that's cool. I mean, that's the thing, though, is like, I feel like Silicon Valley 100% though had an impact on me, because I mean, look at me. I'm trying to build something, right? I'm literally in the environment of startup culture. I'm just an overworked, smelly podcaster at the end of the day. It's about building something up, and I'd like to think that hopefully I'm doing that now, in some way, shape, or form. So Silicon Valley is incredible in a lot of ways, and it does produce scams. Yes. What did you see with Elizabeth Holmes? She's one of the scams, and I would arguably say that she is the biggest scam in my eyes, out of this whole world of scams in the Valley. Um, Also, I want to take the time to talk about some of the South Asian representation within Elizabeth Holmes. You guys are like, what the fuck? Sunny Balwani, my man. No, I'm kidding. He's terrible. But the guy was basically behind Elizabeth Holmes the whole way. He was like the COO of Theranos and all these things. Shout out to all the South Asians out there, because like Sunny Balwani is horrible, but like also I don't know if any of you had this thought when you were thinking about Theranos and looking at Sunny Balwani, but like, we got a criminal now, guys. Like, we got a white collar criminal we could look up to. It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. Like, Sunny Balwani, new criminal we can look up to. We're the bad boys now. See, every time like a girl's like, Indian boys ain't bad enough. Like, they're so like they're so nice, and all they do is nerd out. And I'm be like, and I or any other boy could just be like, you heard of Sunny Balwani? G? You heard of Sunny Balwani? The GOAT? The criminal mastermind himself? Yeah, we got all the white collar bad boy vibes on our side now. Come on now. Sunny Balwani getting hyped like this. This is truly okay. Look, all jokes aside, right? I about the show in general. I think Elizabeth Holmes is a really fascinating story. I really do. The show does a very good job of telling the story. As someone who's watched Bad Blood, which is a documentary on HBO, which is good, but this is like it's a dramatized version, but it's way better in my opinion. I think it's way more entertaining. But there's this episode in the show where these companies get into a bidding war, and I think it's super cool to watch this whole thing go down. And I know I've lived here my entire life, and I just called this place like overworked, smelly engineers that eat dal, but I would love to be a fly on the wall for some of these like heated negotiations and business conversations. I think that'd be so cool. I think those are the conversations that we are not privy to as a society, and I particularly am not, because I'm no one in Silicon Valley. But what can we learn from Elizabeth Holmes, right? Like, what can we learn from this entire case? And I think the thing that we have to make sure that we don't do in tech is typecast, right? Particularly typecast for Elizabeth Holmes, because there are a lot of women. There's such a lack of women in tech founders. I mean, is there like startups with a woman like at the front of it? Like, rarely, dude. I don't see that often. So it's still definitely a work in progress, and we can't do women in tech dirty because of one bad apple, because there's bad apples everywhere. Look, Sunny Balwani is a bad apple for Indian guys, but Indian guys are good, dude. Come on, you can tell me that. South Asian guys are cool, right? Why do we have to, oh, come on, bro. Come on. My God. Right? Sunny Balwani, man. Well, how would you feel, Indian people out there, if everyone thought you were the next Sunny Balwani? I don't think you'd feel too good, unless you like want to be a criminal. Then maybe you might feel good. But anyway, we can't typecast, right? And also, it sucks to say, but now we live in a society where one bad apple for women or minorities or any like marginalized group can fuck us all over. I mean, that's just the truth, right? It's really that's how much it sucks. And I mean, I hate to say it, but there aren't very many women founders in tech, like I said, and I want to see more. So like, let's see another one that doesn't scam the world and can actually be the first self-made woman billionaire, and not just Mackenzie Scott, who actually I don't have a problem with. She just inherited money from Jeff. She got the bag in her own way, okay? Okay, don't hate on Mackenzie. Um, and I think another lesson I learned personally as a creator from this is don't try and just copy and imitate someone for the sake of it, for the sake of, oh, they reached success and they reached clout and all of these things. This is the lesson I learned from digging into the story of Elizabeth Holmes. She was someone who wasn't who tried for so long to be like Steve Jobs, who tried for so long to be one of the big founders in the Silicon Valley. And as a creator, sometimes you try to be like, I want to be the next Dobrik. I want to be the next Yes Theory. I want to be the next Casey Neistat. And we get lost in that. You know, you as the YouTuber, you want to just be the next big one, and you're willing to do anything to get to that point, right? But sometimes you just got to be yourself. You got to let your style shine through. You got to find your niche. You got to find your communities that people like love you and they like you. And instead of going back and forth and just trying to imitate someone else and how they made it, I think that's what I learned from Elizabeth Holmes is you can't just imitate someone and just expect to make it. I copy little things from YouTubers. Absolutely. I'm sure you guys could see definitely some of the influences in my content for sure. But I want to try as much as possible and stray away from that. Kind of give my organic takes, my cage-free, 100% pasteurized takes that have no preservatives in them, right? I want you to like me for me, okay? No one else. I want you to like me for me. But yeah, go and watch this show because it's really good. But that's really one of the lessons I took away from it as a creator, and I thought you guys would be interested in hearing about that. In my opinion, so go check it out. It's on The Dropout on Hulu. Definitely worth it. It's super good. Amanda Seyfried, Naveen Andrews are the two-star characters or two-star actors in it, so it's definitely acted very well, and I think you guys will enjoy it. Yeah. Listen.